Assalamualaikum, my name is Muhammad Daniel IKHWAN bin Muhammad AZRIN, number matrix 03DJL21F1024. Now I'm gonna start with introduction cultures in Malaysia. The culture of Malaysia draws on the varied cultures of the different people of Malaysia. The first people to live in the area were indigenous tribes that still remain. They were followed by the Malays who moved there from mainland Asia in ancient times. Chinese and Indian culture influence made their mark when trade began with those countries and increased with immigration to Malaysia. Other cultures that heavily influenced that on Malaysia includes Persian, Arabic, British. There are many different ethnics that currently exist in Malaysia have their own unique and distinctive culture identities with some crossover. Ethnic group. Malaysia is a multi-ethnic, multicultural and multilingual society, and the many ethnic groups in Malaysia maintain separate culture identities. The society of Malaysia has been described as Asia in miniature. The original culture of the area stemmed from its indigenous tribes, along with the Malays who moved there in ancient times. Substantial influence exists from the Chinese and Indian cultures, dating back to when trade with those countries began in the area. Other cultures that heavily influence that of Malaysia include Persian, Arabic and British. The structure of the government, along with the racial balance of power caused by the idea of a social contract, has resulted in little incentive for the culture assimilation of ethnic minorities in Malaya and Malaysia. The government has historically made little distinction between Malay cultures and Malaysian culture. Arts. Traditional Malaysian arts is mainly centered on the craft or carving, weaving and silversmithing. Traditional arts range from hand-woven baskets from rural areas to the silverwork of the Malay courts. Common artworks include ornamental crease and betel nut sets. Luxurious textile known as songket are made, as well as traditional pattern batik fabrics. Indigenous East Malaysians are known for their wooden masks. Malaysian arts are expanded only recently as before the 1950s. Islamic taboos about growing people and animals were strong. Textiles such as the batik, songket, puar kumbu and tekat are used for decorations, often embroidered with a painting or pattern. Traditional jewellery was made from gold and silver adorned with gems, and in East Malaysia, leather and beads were used to the same effect. Clothing. For clothing in Malaysia's national language, it is referring to things to wear such as shirts, pants, shoes. Since Malaysia is a multicultural nation, Malay, Chinese, Indian and hundreds of the indigenous groups of Malay Peninsula and Borneo, each has its own traditional and religious articles of clothing, all of which are gender specific and may be adapted to local influence and conditions. Previously, traditional clothes were worn daily. However, by excluding baju Melayu, baju kurung and baju kebaya, many are now only worn on special occasions such as marriage ceremonies and cultural events. Conclusion. In conclusion, cultural value is made up of ideas, attitudes and principles which are inherited by members of a society. In another hand, culture is the basic beliefs and values that hand down from one generation to another generation. People in every society hold a unique culture and cultural value. Each of the culture and cultural value influence the consumers in the consumption patterns and attitude towards the market. Malaysia is a multiracial country with the three largest ethnic groups of Malay, Chinese, and Indian. Each ethnic group has its own cultural value. For example, the Malay culture emphasizes on the values of pragmatism and culture consciousness and focus on high quality products. Chinese culture emphasizes on the value of faith and public reputation, health-oriented products, and the concept of feng shui. Indian cultures emphasize on the value of the traditional family-oriented and classification among them. All of these cultural values influence their consumption pattern.